What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Next Pats podcast. I'm Phil Perry. We have one-upped ourselves yet again out here at the Super Bowl in Phoenix. We've got some great guests for the podcast this week. Spoke to Eagles general manager Howie Roseman, Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni to talk about receivers, because this is something that the Patriots, I believe, are going to need to pursue this offseason if they want to get to where they want to go. We're also talking to former Patriots running back, former Eagles running back as well. Might not have the best memories of LeGarrette Blount in an Eagles uniform, but we are talking to LeGarrette Blount, big back of Patriots championships past, that I think will have some great input on how the Patriots should be treating Rhamondre Stevenson both on the field and at the negotiating table moving forward. So we've got a great conversation with LeGarrette Blount, but I want to start with this receiver conversation because this, I think, is instructive for the Patriots moving forward here. Not necessarily what's happening on the Kansas City side of this year's Super Bowl. They've got the best quarterback in the world. Really hard to replicate that. But what is going on the Eagles side of things in this year's Super Bowl, and how have they built their team, and how can the Patriots potentially follow their blueprint to get to the same general vicinity in terms of overall success? The Patriots don't have a Jalen Hurts style quarterback. They don't have the dominating offensive line that the Eagles have. But what the Eagles have done at the receiver position these last few years, to me, has been eye-opening, because it wasn't all that long ago that they fielded an offense that included and featured receivers Jalen Reagor, failed first-round pick, and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, failed second-round pick. They had nobody to throw to in Philadelphia. It was a disaster. Their passing game was a mess. What did they say to themselves? Did Howie Roseman turtle? Did the coaching staff there say, well, let's throw up our hands at that position. I guess we better be something else? No. They understand the value of the receiver position. They understand how important it is to be competitive in today's NFL, to have game-changing wide receivers. Not C-plus caliber wide receivers, but game-changing, strike fear into the heart of opposing defenses week after week after week types of receivers. So they fail with Jalen Reagor in the first round. They miss out on Justin Jefferson, arguably the best receiver in the NFL right now, by one pick. Reagor goes one pick before Justin Jefferson. That one hurts. They fail with Arcega-Whiteside. They come back in 2021 and they draft Devontae Smith with a top 10 pick. Soon thereafter, the very next offseason, they have 2 first-round picks because of some maneuvering that they did in the draft. Good on them. And they use one of their first-round picks to trade it to the Tennessee Titans to acquire another number 1 receiver, an A.J. Brown. So now they have quickly, in 2 off seasons, gone from having no number 1s to having 2 number 1s alongside what is also a very good tight end in Dallas Goedert. And lo and behold, they're in the Super Bowl. Of course, Jalen Hurts needed to grow and develop and become a better passer for them to get to this point where they are today. But part of the reason he was able to grow and develop in the way that he did was because of the receiver help that was put around him, because the Eagles were as aggressive as they were acquiring the receiver talent they knew they needed to get to this point in the NFL season to be playing for a championship. So let's hear from Howie Roseman. This is at Media Night. There might be some ambient noise because Media Night is a circus, I think is putting it kindly, year after year after year. But you should be able to hear me ask Howie Roseman about what he looks for in receivers and about why he was so aggressive in pursuing A.J. Brown as he was this past offseason to get him to Media Night at the Super Bowl.
Everything's an evaluation. When it comes to the receiver position, what do you look for first?
Well, I think we're trying to build a basketball team, and we're trying to find complementary skill sets, and I think, bringing in AJ with Devontae and Quez and Zach Pascal, I think that really fit what we were looking for. We didn't have a guy like that. He's a unique guy. He's got a unique physical traits, and just his connection with Jalen. It just, what a great opportunity for this team and for us. And obviously, we paid a big price for him, but it was worth it for where we were as a team and what we needed.
Did you feel like you had to be as aggressive as you were getting AJ in order to build that position group to where you wanted it to be?
I just think that when you have a chance to get a player like that, those are unique opportunities, and you're probably never going to feel great about the value of the deal, But at that time, you just want to get the player and you just try to do the best job you can.
Last thing on that is, do you think receiver has an argument as the second most important position in the sport?
Well, I don't know that I want to get into what's more important. I think the most important thing is having as many great players as you possibly can at important positions, and certainly receiver's one of them.
I find that perspective really fascinating. You're trying to build a basketball team. It's the first thing he says. So you have Quez Watkins, really fast receiver that can threaten defenses down the field. You have Devontae Smith, who can run routes basically from any alignment on the field. Not the biggest body in the world, not going to be necessarily the biggest yak guy on the planet, but if you need him outside, you can work him there. You want him in the slot, he's going to be fine in there as well. And then you have A.J. Brown, who is built like a superhero. And they call him Batman. They actually call all these guys Batman, is my understanding. You can roll your eyes at that because I certainly did when I heard it. But last night, I was told A.J. Brown is known as Swole Batman. Devontae Smith is known as Skinny Batman, and Quez Watkins is known as Fast Batman. Well, you have somebody who's built like a superhero in A.J. Brown, who is a yak monster, but can also threaten deep down the field and can function in a variety of roles, but really threatens the defense. And you have these differing skill sets that complement each other nicely. And if we're looking at the Patriots, what do they have right now at the receiver position? Let's not even include Nelson Aguilar and Jacoby Myers in this conversation because they're not under contract. Right now, I think you do have some complementary skill sets. I'm just not sure any of them raise to the level that Smith or Brown are occupying for Philadelphia right now. You have your big-bodied, 50-50 contested catch type of player on the outside in Devontae Parker. You have your fast wide receiver, your fast Batman, your Quez Watkins, and Tyquan Thornton. And you have sort of your do-it-all type in Kendrick Bourne. Those are the three receivers that are under contract right now that played for you here in 2022. Is that enough? I would say no. I would say you need to get aggressive, and I don't know what that move is just yet. Do you trade a first-round pick for Jerry Jeudy? Are the Broncos going to be willing to part with Jerry Jeudy, who damn near had a 1,000-yard season with one of the most dysfunctional offenses in all of football last year? Really, really good player. Somebody who's versatile. I think a little bit like Jacoby Myers, but more athletic, more speed, and that you could use him outside, you could use him inside. I think a Patriots type of player, former Mac Jones roommate at Alabama, so there's a relationship there. That could work if he's available. T. Higgins, to me, would be the dream scenario because those guys are never available. But if Cincinnati decides they can't pay Higgins and Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, Cincinnati not necessarily known for throwing money around at their free agents or others over the course of time, maybe would the Bengals be enticed to give up T. Higgins for a first-round pick the way the Titans were because the Titans knew they probably weren't going to be able to re-sign A.J. Brown. That would be something I would pursue if I'm the Patriots because that's a game-changing, force the defense to react to you kind of player. These are the kinds of moves that I think the Patriots should be interested in, and they should be trying to follow in the footsteps of Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles in terms of how aggressive they were in pursuing that game-changing talent. Let's hear from Nick Sirianni now because this is a guy who played receiver. This is a guy who has coached receivers. Now he's the head coach, obviously, of the Philadelphia Eagles. But I asked him if there was any hesitation whatsoever. You heard it in Howie Roseman's voice. He said you never really love the value that's going out when you bring a player like that in, but he can change your team. Let's hear from Nick Sirianni right now about the moments leading up to that A.J. Brown acquisition and just how much convincing had to be done from Howie Roseman to Nick Sirianni in order for that move to happen.
I remember when Howie first talked to me about the opportunity to be able to do that. And being in the AFC South as the offensive coordinator with the Colts, I'd seen him run up and down Lucas Oil Field, giving us problems, and also at Nissan Field giving us problems. And when I look at wide receivers, the thing that I always want to know is, do they have quickness and do they have play strength? And so I already knew that answer there, but then, because of seeing them play live and just being a fan of wide receivers in general and studying them all the time since I played wide receiver. But when Howie and I went and put the tape on, it didn't take me too many plays to just confirm what I already knew. And so when you can get a playmaker like that, we had 2 first-round picks and we were able to get, use one of them for a guy that you weren't taking a chance on, right? There's always a risk in the draft, right? You look at any draft, not every guy hits, right? And so we knew he hit because he had already hit. And man, he's advertised. To be able to coach him every day, again, secret to good coaching, get good players. And AJ's a phenomenal player. He's a phenomenal person. He works really hard to be the player he is, and I'm thrilled that he's on this team, and one of the big reasons why we're in this game this weekend.
Special player, game-changing kind of player. And to acquire those guys, you're going to need to be willing to give something up. Is Bill Belichick willing to go there? We've seen him do it in the past. We saw him give up a first-round pick to acquire Brandon Cooks, perennial 1,000-yard receiver in 2017, who elevated the Patriots' offense. They needed somebody on the outside. They got their guy. Does Bill Belichick see things the same way now, and would he be willing to part with the same kind of draft capital to add that talent? Or does he look at his roster and say, we're a little different team now than we were in 2017. That 2017 roster was loaded. The way the Eagles roster was loaded going into this year outside of A.J. Brown, but they look at it, they say, we're probably a piece away from the Super Bowl, let's go get them. Bill Belichick and the Patriots did the same thing. They get back to a Super Bowl and they lose, but they got there. So maybe he views it and he says, we're not close enough right now to be trading away first-round picks for game-changing players. The counter-argument there, though, would be Robert Kraft wants you back in the playoffs, and he wants you winning games in the playoffs. He wants you making noise in January. So if you want to get there, you have to get better and get better quickly. This has been a long rebuild right now, where 2 of the last 3 years you don't even make the playoffs. So what can you do to ratchet up the pace on this rebuild and to get you back to playoff contention as soon as possible, ASAP? To me, it would be this kind of move, a drastic receiver move. Now, the issue for the Patriots is it might have to be via trade. It's not a great receiver draft, is my understanding. Talking to some league evaluators in the last couple of weeks. We're talking about Zay Flowers, who's really a slot receiver out of BC, as being one of the first receivers, if not the first receiver, off the board in this year's draft. It's not necessarily loaded with talent the way the draft has been in years past at that receiver spot, where you can maybe dip into the second round and get an A.J. Brown to change your team. That's difficulty number one. That's hurdle number one for the Patriots as they look for this game-changing talent at that position. Hurdle number two is what's available in free agency. It ain't much. Arguably the best receiver on the market this year is a guy that's one of their own, and Jacoby Myers. Juju Smith-Schuster, who's playing in this game, you could argue is the best available. We could go back and forth on that. I think for the Patriots, you'd probably be more interested in just keeping your guy. Might end up being a captain for you, somebody who's a shining example of how to go about your job and how to make something of yourself when you come into the team as an undrafted rookie and you have to scratch and claw for all sorts of playing time, and you end up damn near being a 1,000-yard receiver and being the most dependable guy weapons-wise in that Patriots offense over the course of the last few years. So there's not much in free agency. There's not much in the draft. You might have to make the kind of aggressive move that the Eagles made last offseason for A.J. Brown if you want to get to where you expect to be in 2023 and beyond. All right, that's a fun conversation. I love looking at these big picture team building types of topics because especially in weeks like this one where we have all kinds of time to dissect this matchup and how these teams were put together and how they got to this place in time, we should be taking lessons away from these teams. Again, not sure how many lessons you can take away from the Chiefs. Best quarterback in the world. Not many of those guys floating around out there. But receiver-wise, there are avenues to pursue to get your team better. Let's hear from LeGarrette Blount right now about this Patriots offense. He's going to talk to us about what kind of offense it should be to help maximize the skill set that Mac Jones has. He's going to tell us whether or not he thinks Mac Jones is going to be able to turn the corner in year 3 under Bill O'Brien. He also talks to us about Bill Belichick and where he feels Bill Belichick is right now at this stage of his career, and if he is still, in his opinion, the best head coach in all of football. You're going to want to hear this from LeGarrette Blount. Let's get to that conversation right now. All right, we're very happy to have with us right now former Patriots running back, as well as former Eagles running back, champion with both teams, LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette, thanks for being with us.
I appreciate you guys for having me, man. It's always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you because you give us such great perspective in terms of what's going on in the league right now. I know you still follow it very closely. There's a running back in New England who I think will probably remind the people at home a lot of your game, in Rhamondre Stevenson. I wanted to ask you what you think of Stevenson, especially after what you saw from him this past year. So many touches. It felt like it was really a breakout year for him.
Man, I like him a lot. He's one of my favorite young running backs. A couple of years in the league now. Starting to get his feet a little bit wet. He's still young. Still got some things to fix, and work on. But man, he has a tremendous upside, great ceiling. The sky's the limit for him. I just got to make sure he take care of his body. Know that you're in New England. If you're a big running back, you're gonna run the ball a lot, right? Especially when it's raining outside or if it's freezing cold outside. You're gonna always get the ball out there. So I can't say enough about him. He's a big back that people underestimate his speed, and they really underestimate his catching ability. I don't think people really respect how well he can catch the football, and that's an advantage for him being the size that he is.
Well, they almost used him as a third down back this year.
Yeah.
I mean, when you were with the Patriots, you guys had James White. You
Right.
had
And
Deion
Shane.
Lewis did a
Yep.
little bit of
Shane
both.
Vereen had
Shane
all of them.
Vereen.
Yep.
They didn't have that last year. You
Yeah.
said he's got to take care of his body, but what can the Patriots do to help him take care of his body? Is it critical that they bring in that traditional third down back to help Stevenson be his best self?
It is very critical because you're going to get into games where maybe your third down back need to take the lead. Maybe he's smaller, maybe he's in better shape. Whatever the case may be. Rhamondre, being a big back, he seems like he's in great shape. But at the end of the day, man, being that size and going out there and running a go route, then running a hitch route, if the team is behind and we got to get in a 2-minute offense, he's not the ideal guy that you want in there. You want a Shane, you want a Deion, you want a James White, you want those kind of guys. As you guys can also see, that Atlanta game, me fumble, Brady pick six. The back that got in there and got it done was James White, right? I don't know how many catches, but those guys are important. You know what I'm saying? Everybody don't think they need them until you need them. You always need one of these guys. So I think that is vital to our offensive success, is to have a guy that can be able to catch the football and protect the quarterback out of the backfield.
We were talking this week, Tom Curran and I, about the kind of deal Rhamondre might be looking at a couple years from now. He still has 2 years left on his rookie contract, but when you look at some of his numbers from this past year, he's there among the best of the best at that position. However, we know Bill Belichick.
Yes.
You've been at the negotiating table before with Bill
Yes.
Belichick. How do you think he will handle these next couple years with Stevenson, and do you think that he'll end up getting one of those big money running back deals, just knowing the way that place in New England generally operates?
I would say first and foremost, man, I hope he has an agent that is going to go to the bat for him, and an agent that is going to stand tall in the paint and do what they have to do to get this done, right? With that being said, we all know that New England isn't too keen to playing running backs. They've let a lot of great running backs go. If he's going to get the big bag that the premier running backs are getting, he'll probably have to go to another team. If he's not looking to get a huge crazy contract, they'll probably re-up him with 1 year left, considering the fact that the running back market is going to grow and they don't want him to be worth a lot more if he has another crazy year.
When you look at the Patriots right now, are they a team, in your opinion, that needs to be focused and centered around its running game because of what they have
100%.
at quarterback? Do you look at Mac Jones and say he needs that really strong running game in order for them to be as efficient as they want to be?
Yes.
Why is
you
that?
do. Mac had his Pro Bowl year with Josh, right? Got Matty P, had a down year. But he has Billy O coming, right? A great offensive mind, successful offensive mind, has been successful in the New England Patriots scheme and organization. I think if he don't turn the corner and get over that hump this year, I think you got to go in a different direction. But I do think that you have to get the right line in front of these guys, and you have to lean heavily on the run game. Rhamondre has proven time and time again that he can carry this offense. We went out there and passed for a freaking less than 100 yards in a couple of games where this guy's carried us all the way there. So I think people got to put a little bit more respect on his name. I know there's a lot of good backs out there, but he's one of them. You lean on this run game as heavily as possible until you can get Mac into a position where he's comfortable enough to be a Jalen Hurts or Justin Fields, a guy that don't have to throw the ball 25 or 30 times to win a game. Somebody that you can give the ball to and put it in his hands 15, 17 times, maybe 20 if it's crazy, and then you can win the game running the football and controlling the clock.
You said going into year 3, if Mac Jones doesn't turn that corner, then maybe you do have to move on from him. In your opinion, though,
Yes.
do you think he does turn the corner?
with Billy O, I think he has a very good chance of turning the corner. I like Mac. I think he's a good quarterback. I mean, again, man, he's a Pro Bowl quarterback, so he has the intangibles. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. He's been a part of one of the most complex offenses in the NFL with Josh McDaniels. I'm here to tell you that because it is extremely hard to learn. So he does have that ceiling. He can do it, man. It's just that, is he going to put the work in? Is he going to come into the building early? Is he going to do everything that he has to do to put them in the best position to win?
We've been talking a little bit about just having the offense set up the way it was last year with
Right.
Matty P, who you knew, and I remember you got along with really well during your time in New England.
Yes.
Even though he was the defensive coach and you were
Yeah.
on the offensive side. What did you make of that decision by Bill Belichick, and what have you made of the Patriots as a team under Belichick these last couple of years? Do you feel like Bill still has that weight that everyone always associates with him as being the best head coach in football?
Yes. You lose all the weapons that you had at your disposal in the last couple of years. You lost your quarterback. You still went to the playoffs, right? This year you still won 8 games, 8 or 9 games. So that speaks volumes of what Bill can do. Limited resources. He don't have any superstars on his team. You got Judon on the defense. You got you got the rookie that ended up being a Pro Bowler. So you don't have that star-studded cast like you've always had, and you still one game away from the playoffs. Last year you went to the playoffs. So please tell people to just continue to put respect on Bill's name, because it doesn't matter who's there. He's going to get the job done. He's going to figure out a way.
LeGarrette Blount, thanks so much for being with us. Tell us about LG's Feel Good. What's going on with everything that you're about this week here at Super Bowl week in Phoenix?
LG's Feel Good is my CBD company, man. It is all natural, all organic, 0 THC whatsoever. Rollerball, got a pain patch, anxiety drops, sleep gummies, the whole 9, man. And this is for anybody that is having any kind of trouble with any pain, don't want to go to the medicine, or don't want to take the pills, don't want to do the opioids, any of that crazy stuff. This is the most natural way that you can handle it. This is the best way to handle it. We got the best product on the market, man. There's no comparison to what we're doing here. So and I made this with all these guys that have played football in mind. All the past guys that are doing all these surgeries, all the past guys that are dealing with all these injuries and pain after football. Man, I done this for these guys, and obviously for myself. This is huge, and I want all the guys to know about it. And I just want to continue to push it and let them know that there's a different way of healing and dealing with all the pain besides pills.
LeGarrette, great stuff. Thanks so much for being with us.
LG's Feel Good, baby.
Awesome stuff there from LeGarrette Blount. Really appreciate him being on with us for Next Pats this year. We got him last year. He was great last year. He's great this year. Hopefully we'll get him next year. Guys, that'll do it for this edition of Next Pats. We'll be talking to you again very, very soon on Next Pats from the Super Bowl here in Phoenix. But for now, that's all for now. We'll talk to you soon.